Hello everyone, I'm Chizia Damanuti, Marketing Coordinator here at SmartSimple. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar entitled List Views for the Experienced User. This quarter, our webinars will focus on reporting tools. Today, we'll take a deeper dive on your knowledge of list views. Before we begin, I would like to remind you about our upcoming SmartSimple events. We are 1 week away from the first SmartSimple block party in San Francisco. Come meet the SmartSimple team in San Francisco on May 24th. Hosted by the State Bar of California, expect an event with a lot of hands-on learning and networking opportunities. There's still a few seats left, so make sure you register today. Registration is also now open for Block Party Chicago. 2 weeks after Block Party San Francisco, we're headed to the Midwest on June 7th. This time, it will be hosted by the Crown Family Philanthropies. Also, save the dates for Block Party New York City, September 6th, Block Party Nashville, October 17th, and our biggest event of the year, Elevate, which will be taking place October 17th to 19th. Also, we have some webinars lined up, such as our May Upgrade Q&A webinar on May 29th and 31st, and the last webinar, this is the last webinar of our reporting tools series. Also, we have advanced search and search filters on June 19th and June 21st. Don't forget to register at smartsimple.com/events and be sure to look out for a lot of great content to be planned for you in 2018. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter. Atin Sood has been with SmartSimple since May 2017 and is a technical account advisor. He brings 2 years of technical support experience. Atin enjoys board games and loves to take on new adventures. The next thing on his to-do list is skydiving. During the webinar, you're welcome to ask your questions by typing it into the chat box within your Zoom console. We will answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. And now I'd like to pass over to Atin to get started.
Hello everyone, my name is Atin and I'll be your host for today's webinar, List Views for Experienced Users. This webinar will be consisting of a PowerPoint presentation, which will be supported by screenshots. There will be a live demo. Q&A session follows after that. In the webinar today, I'll be talking about 4 things: how to modify filters, enabling map view, translation service, and exporting list views. So let us begin with modifying system filters. Now, system filters can be modified in 2 ways. The first one is advanced search, for which your screen will look something like this. The second way is to go through the global settings. So you go into the global settings, you click on the search filters under the system tab, and then select the UTA for which you want to modify the filter. Select the filter that has to be modified, and then click on edit. Let's see it with the screenshots. You click on the menu icon on the top right corner below your name. Click on global settings. Under the systems tab, click on search filters. Select the UTA for which you want to modify the filter. Once you open a UTA, you will see 2 different tabs. One is for level 1 filters and the other one for level 2 and 3 filters. Now click on any of the filters, a new pop-up opens up, and then you can edit it from there. Next item on the list is maps in list views. As of now, without the map service enabled, your list view appears to be this way. Once maps are enabled, the list view will look something like this. Third item on the list, translation service. Now this feature only works for the plain text fields. When I say plain text fields, it means the single line text fields and the multiple line text fields only. The translation provided should be considered as a working translation only, and it is not suitable for uses where you need a high quality translation. Remember that this feature is supported through the integration with Google Translate services. Enabling this feature involves a few steps. Let's go through the screenshots how to enable this feature, and then I'll give you a live demo later on. So you will have to go into the global settings. Under the system tab in the system options section, you enable the field translation service. Once you do that, you have to enable the translation in the text field itself. The next step will be setting the default language of the list view to whatever language you want the translation to appear in. So if you want to see English translation from Spanish or French, then you select English in this drop down here. The last thing will be to modify the list view to display both the translated value and the actual value. This is very important. You have to display both the values in the list view in order for this to work. Once this is set up, a translate button will appear next to your text field for which the translation has been enabled. Click on that, a new modular window will appear. The source field will pick up the value that has been entered by the applicant or the user as it is. From the drop-down menu, you can choose the language to which you want to convert the text in. So this drop-down, whatever you select in this drop-down, it has to be the same on the list view drop-down selection. Once you hit translate, the translated value appears in the translation field as you can see on the screen. Once this is all set up, your list view should look something like this. So you can see after the open button, you have the actual field value, and then you have the translated value displayed on the same list view. Now moving on to the next section, which is exporting list views. List views can be exported in various ways. You can export a list view to an Excel file. You can perform a custom export. You can send values to a word merge document, which can be used to print labels. Now, talking about MS Excel export, how to enable this. If you want to export your list view records to an Excel file, all you have to do is go into the list view settings. Under the export tab, you enable export, hit save, that's it. Custom export. Using the custom export, you can extract the columns from a list view in any order you want. For example, if you have specified the second column as the name of the applicant, so in this case, as you can see on the screen, the first column is the index number, second column is the name, and then the third column is the applicant's organization. Then you can use the custom export to display the applicant's organization as a first as the first column on the Excel file, then the name, and so on. Your custom export settings will look something as such. I'll display that in the live demo. Next thing on the list is MS Word export. This is rather an interesting one. You can export a list view to a Word document. Although this feature is not used much, but one application for this can be printing labels. Imagine you have to mail out letters to numerous people in your organization or to your applicants, and you need to print labels for that. What would you do in this scenario? Would you do it one by one, or do you really have time for that? Won't it be better if you could perform a search on the system for the contacts, print the labels directly from the system instead of writing them down one by one? Well, here we can help you out. How export the data from the list view directly to a label format? This is an example that I was working on earlier, where I decided I should export the names of the names, the titles, their organization, and other details to labels from the list view directly rather than doing it one by one. Let's move on to the live demo without further ado. So I'll begin with the system filters. To modify system filters, as I said during the presentation, you can do it by two ways. First is by the advanced search. So you are in the UTA, you click on the advanced search here, and you select your filter directly from here. Select your filter, make modifications. You want to add something, let's say this, and we say board members. We click on Save Filter. Now once you hit Save Filter, it will give you an option to either update the existing filter, or you can save this as a new filter. So you can go either way from here. You can create new ones from the existing if you have a slight modification. For example, the filter remains like the list view remains the same. Only thing that changes in the filter is that you want to exclude one of the types. You unselect that, click on Save Filter, and you can save it as a new one. So this is the first way how you modify your system filters. The second way is going through the global settings. Click on the menu icon, global settings. Under the systems tab, click on search filters right here. Select your UTA. I was working on corporate giving, so I'll select corporate giving for now. You can see that your list level 1 filters are separated in a tab than level 2 and 3 filters here. Once you click on any of these, a new pop-up opens up. You have an edit option there. Click on the edit option. It will take you to the same screen and you perform the same steps again, make modifications here, click on Save Filter, and you can save it as a new one or you can update the existing filter. The next item is enabling map views. Let's have a look. To enable map views, all you have to do is you have to go into the list view settings. I'm using the shortcut here to edit the view. Under your columns, you will just say enable map option, map panel. Hit on save and your map panel is enabled. Now if you go back to your list view, it will be totally changed. As you can see on the screen, you have a map on your right hand side and your records on the left hand side. The red dots here denote the organization which have applied to your granting system. So if you hover over it, it will show you the name of the organization. There, Arthur Clarke. Now if I see Arthur Clarke here, it has to be in one of these here. Whatever you see, whatever records are in the list view, everything will come on the map as red dots. So I can see that there is one here. I don't know if it's the same one, but this is the main application of map panel. Now if you scroll out of the map, this works just like the Google Maps guys. So if you scroll out of the map, you can see the red dots from where the applications are being submitted to your system. So once you have this enabled, this will be in a split screen mode. If you want to disable the split screen, you will have to disable the maps, or you can change your list view. So what I'll do is I'll go back in, I'll disable the maps, hit save. Now if I go back to my UTA, it still shows me a split screen, but you will see an additional button appear here that says disable split screen. Click on that and you are back to the normal view. So moving on to the next one is the translation service. Now, as I told, translation service involves, enabling that feature involves a few steps. So let's begin from the very beginning. Go into global settings, scroll down under system tab, you will see enable field translation service here. So you enable this, click on save. Once this is done, you go back to your UTA and we go into a application to see if we have anything on the top. Okay, so let's just create a new text field in the same UTA. I'll just say new single line text. Now this can be only a single line text or a multiple line text field because the translation can be done only on these two fields. I'll say translation service. There you go. And I'll put a display order of 0 just so that it appears on the very top. Once you hit save, usually your option to enable the service, the translation service on the field itself appears here. Why is it not here? Because the advanced options are not turned on. You enable that, scroll down, enable the translation service, click on save. Now if I go back to one of my records, I reload the frame, you will see that the translation service field is here with an icon or a shortcut here that says translate. let me enter hola here. Sorry. And I click on Save Draft. I click on Translate. The new modular window appears as I described in the presentation. Now, from here, you can select numerous languages in which you can perform the translation in. For example, the French Canada, translate now, it's salut. For Italian, let's see if we have Italian here. Translate now, it gives you ciao. So I'll just stick to the very basics, that's English. Click on Translate now and hit Save. It says field values saved. Now, the thing to be noted here is you can save it in two ways. The translated values can be saved in two ways. You can store it to the same field as a translated version, or you can create a new field where you want to save this. Naming convention of that field can be as per your requirement. Select that field here and hit on Save. So I'll just say save to the same field as of now. Just click on Save Draft to be sure that it is saved. Now how to display this on the list view. Go back to the list view, edit. I'll add 2 more columns. So for the first one, I say translation service here. Now, if I select translation service here, it will show me the actual value that was entered into the field by the user or the applicant. Now, in the second field, I want to show translation. How do I do that? If I select this, it's going to show me the same value. Once you enable translation, you will have to perform one more check here. Go into properties, translated data language has to be the same for which we did translation in. So click on Save. Once this is done, you come back to your columns, you will see a new tab appear that says Grant Translated Fields. Go in there, I see the same field showing up here. I select that. Save. And let's go back to our list view now. There you go. If you see the very first record, you will see both the translated value, which is hello in English, and the actual value, which was hola. So this can be done for each and every record, but make sure you display both the fields in order for this to work. Moving on to the export. So let's go to the export section. So you click on Edit View. On the export, I have enabled the export. So let's see what happens if I disable it. So I go back to the list view. You don't see any export button here. You want to export this list. I'll just narrow it down. Let's see how many. So we have 2 records. We want to export to Excel file. All we do is go into Export, enable Export, hit Save. Once you do that, reload your page. You will see an export button appear. Hit on that. Everything that is displayed on the list view, all the records, once you hit submit, will be exported to an Excel file. So I'll open it up. This is how the export looks when you once you hit export. All the fields are in there, right? So this values doesn't appear because I did it for a different record. Once you do it for this record, the same values will appear here. Now let's close this. There's one more feature in the export that you can select the position of where you want your records to display from. So the first 0 here represents the worksheet of the Excel file. The second one here is the column. The third one is the row. So I'll just say start from the 6th row. Hit Save. Go back to the list view. Export. And you can see that your records started, like they skipped the first 6 rows and they started from the 7th one. this is how we use the data positioning from the export feature. So I'll just say 0 again for this. The next one is the custom export. Now, as I demoed it in the presentation, this is used to swap or get selective columns from the list view and display it in Excel. All of these fields have a question mark here at the end, which will tell you what is the syntax gonna look like. So for example, it says field name 1, tab, field name 2, tab, and then field name 3. So the tab is a delimiter here to differentiate from one column to the other one in the Excel file. So I'll just say index, tab, and then applicant name, tab. Let's just have a quick look at the list view again. So we have applicant name here, and then we have modified date towards the end, the third last column. And then we'll say modified date. And I think this should be good. So remember guys, the question mark here, it says that you have to type in field names, field name 1, tab field name 2, tab field name 3. So we will be making corrections here, but the text that you put here doesn't have to be the field names. It will be the name of the column. It will be the heading of the column that you want to display. Now, for the second column, it says the syntax has to be something like this. So you put the number of the column in a square bracket, then same thing, tab, the second column that you want to pull out, tab, the third column, and a break in the end because you want to put all the records in different rows. So I'll say, because our index is at one position in the columns, you see here. So we have 1 as index, the second is applicant name, which is at number 5. So we'll say tab again as a delimiter, number 5, again tab, and then the last number will be our modified date, which is at column number 7. So we'll just go in there, 7, and then say break. Once this is done, you can provide a default name to your Excel file. So you can put the extension as you like it. So if you want to export it as an IIF file, you can do .iif. So I'm just exporting it to Excel for now. You will notice I have set up these are the default variables that you can pass in the file name. This will pull out the date, the month, and the year for today. We click on save. So everything is set up. We'll just make sure, yep, and go back to the list view, refresh it, click on export. So you will see the name of the file is 17/5/2018. Oh, sorry, webinar 17/5/2018, as we mentioned it. Now we click on yes. Right. So your Excel file should look something like this once you export this. You saw the hash signs when I opened this because it has a date in it. You have to extend it to show it completely. So you have index on the first, applicant on the second, and modified date on the third row. Moving on to the word merge export. Click on edit view, go to export, and just get rid of this here and this here, and as well as this here. Okay, so The MS Word settings, you have to just specify the field names and end it with a semicolon. That's all you have to do. The field name that I'm talking about has to be the word merge field which you set up in the system on the UTA that you want to extract data from. So I'll just go into my UTA. I have something already set up. So if for word merge, you can, for more information on word merge, you can always refer to the wiki page. So what I'll do is I'll just grab this name of the field, put it in here, and that's it. Click on save. Now in this field, I am collecting this information: contact name, title, organization, letter address, city, state, and postal code. Once this is done, you have to make sure of one more thing, that you have your Smart folder set up, your Word document ready in there. So this is my Word document. Just want to make sure if my field, the word merge field, is linked to this Smart folder. Yes, it is. So let's check it out. So I have 2 records. Let's pull out some more for this. Okay, so we have 15 records. Hit export. It will give you a message. Please select the records to export. I'll say give me all records for now. Click on export. It will tell you what custom field you want to pull up for this merge. Now in my case, I added only one field which was pulling out certain data. Now you can have it in any format in different word merge fields and list them in the export section of the list view, delimited by semicolon here. So let's go ahead and see what happens once you click submit. Now I had 2 files in my Smart folder. Both are set up for the word merge. One is single label, multiple label. That's what shows up next. Let's say single label. I click on submit. Let's just allow this. So I hit on submit. My file is downloaded. I open that file. You will see that the labels are printed with the name of the person, their title, organization, and the address. So each one comes on a single page based upon the word merge document that you have uploaded, right? So this is single label. Let's check how multiple labels look like. So we'll go back to our list view, select all records once again, and say export. Submit. Multiple labels is selected. Hit on submit. And this is how it will look like. As you can see, you have the labels already in place. You can print it out on a sticker page, cut it out, paste it on the envelopes, and send them out. This is how a word merge export from list views directly works. So that's all for the presentation today. I'll hand it over back to Chinzia now.
Okay, so questions that we have at the moment are, in the map panel enabled list view, is it necessary to include the organization column in the list view to capture the location?
Oh, that's a good question. So if a map panel is enabled, the locations are automatically grabbed from the record. So you don't have to mention, you don't have to display the organization as one of the columns on the list view in order to see the record pointed out on the map.
Great. And I have another one here. Can we use HTML code in the custom export like in report?
Unfortunately, that is not possible as of now. HTML was completely disabled on the list views due to security reasons. So you should not be doing HTML coding anymore on list views on any sections.
Great. And what else do I have here? What is the difference in the 2 ways with which a filter can be modified?
The only difference is that advanced search gives you a list view of filters at the same level of the UTA on which you are performing the search, whereas the global settings, you saw that there were a list of UTAs that you can select from and then select the filter. Like if I quickly go back to the list view, I am in corporate giving. If I click on advanced search here, all the filters that you see here belong to corporate giving level 1. So you won't see any filters from any other UTA in this search. If you go into global settings and go to the filters from there, you will see all UTA and you can select from whichever UTA you want to modify the filter for.
Great. And let's see, I have, once the translation is enabled and the list view is set up, does it have to display both the actual value and the translated value? Can't we just display the translated value?
As of now, both the values have to be displayed, I guess. You can always submit an enhancement request if the need be there to display only the translated value. But as of now, yes, you will have to display both the columns, the actual value field and the translated value field, to be sure that the list view works. In 99% scenarios that I have seen, like it has to be both the columns that are added. That's why I was giving more stress on, guys, please put more, like both the columns in the list view.
Great. And I'm going to give you guys maybe a few minutes if you have any more final questions, and let us know. Otherwise, we'll carry on. So it looks like that's all the questions we have for today. Before we go, I just want to make sure to remind everyone to mark your calendars for SmartSimple events in 2018 and to register for our upcoming webinars in May and June. Also, save the date for Block Party San Francisco, May 24th, Block Party Chicago, June 7th, Block Party New York City, September 6th, Nashville, October 17th, and our biggest event of the year, Elevate, which will be taking place October 17th to 19th. And thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to join us today for list views for the experienced user. We hope you found the material useful. We'd love to hear your feedback on today's webinar and encourage you to fill out the client survey, which will be sent to you after this presentation. If any questions pop up along the way, Adson and the SmartSimple support team are always here to help. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.